All right, everybody. Before we get into the fourth and final part of the interactive reader, I thought I'd do a breakdown of the points that we've gotten so far. So the first two parts, we focused on the reading checkpoints. They were 4 points each for a total of 16 points. Okay, so you can't really afford to not get a lot of those right. I mean, you could probably get maybe one or two wrong, or miss out on one or two of those reading checkpoints for points, but missing out on all of them is really going to set you back. All right. That summary paragraph that we did in part 3 is worth 4 points of the total. That's for 20 points. All right. So this is kind of easy. These are kind of easy because they're all kind of broken up. This 16 points, all total, it's all together, but remember, there's 4 reading checkpoints and they're 4 points each. So, like I said, if you get 1 or 2 of those wrong, that's kind of that's not too bad. It's if you get all of them wrong. It's when you start running into problems. All right, but not many. I don't think very many of you get all 4 of them wrong. 1 or 2 is fine, typically. But try to get all 4 of them so that you can get those points. However, remember that we're going for 36 total. All right, 36 total points. So that means that the rest of the 16 points are part of this critical response paragraph. All right. That's why whenever you have, you pass all that, you got a 4 on the summary, but you still got a failing grade on the interactive reader, that's because your critical response paragraph was not up to standard, okay? It was not up to standard, it was no good, okay? That's where you guys are getting into a lot of trouble, okay? So you need to make sure that you get that under control, all right? So I put the pink paper to the side because I'm not really going to need it, but I am going to need these 2 papers from parts 1 and 2, the yellow and green paper, and then I'm also going to need this purple one with the critical response, okay, the graphic organizer for the critical response. These I'm going to need as kind of a reference, all right, for when I go back for my text evidence, all right. But for this first sentence, so I'm going to write my 16 points up here because that's how much it's worth. All right, so critical response is worth 16 points, so it's a, get it done and get it done well. So you are going to, you are going to basically answer the question. So what is the question? Well, I have the question for you guys right here. All right. In your the digital side of the interactive reader, I'll get to that in a moment. In the digital side, you will have a box, and sometimes you'll have to scroll up to see the whole thing, but this is basically what you're going to see. So your question for your critical response is, after reading this selection, okay, after reading this selection, how would you describe James Cook to someone else? Use text evidence to support your response. This is where y'all are getting into a lot of trouble. Y'all are not using text evidence to support your response. You're answering the question and then leaving it hanging. You need to stop doing that. That's where you're losing a lot of points. All right? So you don't need the text to answer the question. It's called a critical thinking response. That means you have to think up of an answer. Okay? So say you, after reading this text, you are now the expert on James Cook. How would you describe him to someone else? All right? So the way I would do that, and if you have a different way that you would answer this, by all means, please go ahead and do so. But the way I would answer that question is I would say that James Cook was a famous explorer who has made a lasting impression impression or impact, I say impression, on our history. All right, and I wrote big, so I kind of got it all smooshed there at the end. But that is how I would answer that question. Like that's that topic sentence. That's the first sentence. Remember, the critical response has to be a paragraph, and a paragraph is 5 to 7 sentences. Some of y'all are only doing like 2 or 3 sentences still, and that is not what we want. We want 5 to 7 sentences, which is a paragraph. So here's one, okay? There's one sentence there. So now you need to come in here, and you need to get your other sentences. Now, some of you guys are putting a sentence for each of these. If you want to use both of the sentence starters, but you can. I'm not going to say that you can't. But you don't have to. You can use one or the other, okay? That's an R. You can use this one or this one. It does not matter, okay? What is one reason that you think, that this? And then that's when you would go back into the text and you would find a reason that, he made a lasting impression on our history, all right? He became the first to sail all the way around Antarctica. Okay, so you could talk about how he was the first, to map a lot of areas. I'm not going to write the whole sentence out, but you can talk about how, he mapped new lands. All right. And that can be one of your reasons, all right? And again, whenever you do this, whenever you write it out or type it out, you're going to have to, use your sentence structures and make sure it's a full and complete sentence, okay? And then, so that would be sentence number 2 if you made that into a complete sentence, all right? And then if you have a sentence in each of these boxes, you're going to have your 5 sentences easy. And your conclusion is just a restatement of the topic or the first sentence. So you need to make sure, don't overthink this too much. All right? So once you have all of this filled out, how you're going to structure or, what the content is of your paragraph, then you come over here and you write it out. Okay? Bye-bye. 4 o'clock bell. Bye-bye. I'm good. All right. So that's when you would do that. What that looks like so this is what the screen looks like on the interactive reader. Okay. So here is the question. Okay. It looks like it's cut off. It is. You need to scroll to get the whole question. All right. And then you would tap the cursor in there, and then you would start typing away. All right. This does not give you feedback. All right. This is the one that your teacher grades. So it's very important that you get this done. If it is not up to standards, you are not getting the whole 16 points that you should get for this part of the assignment. Once you have the full paragraph typed in, then you hit submit, and then you're done with the interactive reader. Okay. So that's going to be the end of that one. So this is what I have you started on for your critical response. You are going to be the one to finish out the rest of it. Make sure, like I said, that you get those 5 to 7 sentences, that whenever you put the new information in there, you can kind of down below, how would that sentence look? You can revise, edit, however else. And then once it's full here, then you come over here and you write it out, indent the paragraph if you're supposed to, follow capitalization rules, follow punctuation rules, do your subject verb agreement, subject predicate, things like that. Okay, but this will help you get started. It is your responsibility to get the rest of it finished and get it all turned in. It will be due on Friday the 15th, just as a regular interactive reader. It was assigned at the beginning of the week. It's going to be finished and completed and turned in at the end of the week. I hope you guys got a little bit more insight on this, on how to complete the interactive reader series, how you can make sure you get those passing points. Okay?